well, not that I've discovered or know about, and somebody might have an answer, but the answer for everything is in that divine, purifying, all auspicious, all conquering, heart-melting, heart-wrenching, Shabda Brahma, divine Krishna's transcendental vibration form, which comes from the heart and lips of the Paramahansa Vaishnavas. And we are, in our family, we are their students and disciples, either directly or, from the next generation. Still, we are all, to be in Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Math means to be under the Lord's feet, hearing that sound and trying, to go in that direction of what is coming from, Srila Sridhar Maharaj. This is his, mart, that, where he's brought that current from Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur, that was given to him, and liberally distributed through the merciful affection, all-conquering affection of Srila Govinda Maharaj. So that is the remedy, and as soon as we start straying away from that, that's difficulties will come from not. It becomes very vitiated in any way, which is easy to happen. So, disturbed or just polluted, actually polluted.
Where can you get some good lectures from Srila Maharaj? Because I've got a website called Govinda Maharaj.
Yeah, we can find. Yes, we can find.
I've only seen random things
for sure.
There.
Yeah, it's good. Sometimes Guru Maharaj, you really have to pay attention most of the time.
Yeah.
We can find, no problem. And that's the answer really for everything. It's just to be bathed in that, pray for their mercy, and then try our best, and then it will do what it does. Whatever will happen then. You can just try and be faithful to that. In a world of difficulties, no doubt, we're still recovering from Gurudev. Well, I don't even know whether we're recovering, we're still going on somehow anyway, from Gurudev's departing. But we do have wonderful shelter, personalities who are faithful and sincere,
Speaking of, get your Nanda.
We do have, many wonderful personalities of which we can take shelter. This is the truth. And that was Gurudev's instruction. You have to follow a Vaishnava. That was, that's what I would say. In the question of what we do, follow a Vaishnava. That's what you have to do. Hare Krishna. Here's the news. Well, we know what the news is.
Dying.
Good morning, everyone. Hare Krishna. We're here in Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Math, London, West London, and we've been singing some songs for the morning, which is how we start our day in this divine family, happily singing some songs for our divine Lord and for our divine masters. And then we sang together, we chanted some Sanskrit mantras very happily this morning, which is the best way to start the day, just in case you were wondering. We chanted Shikshastakam, Mahaprabhu's 8 verses, and we chanted the Sadgoswami Astakam, another 8 verses of Srinivasacharya, glorifying the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan and the swans and cuckoos and birds and animals of Sri Vrindavan Dham. So, and I was just sent something recently the other day when I was suffering a little bit, and so Madhusudan Maharaj said, "Oh, we've just been reading this." I'm like, "Oh, well, let's read that then." and it's from the Centenary Anthology, which is a wonderful, marvellous, fantastic book, as they all are. But it was composed in 1995. It was the centenary of Guru Maharaj's birth in 1895. And it's a compilation of pieces, and Srila Janardhan Maharaj writes a beautiful introduction chat. Anyway, there's many wonderful things in that book. If you haven't read it, Centenary Anthology, it's a classic. And this is towards the end of the book, actually, this chapter. It's chapter 14 in that book, and it's called Harmony, Beauty's Necessity. Hare Krishna. And it's from Absolute Harmony, transcribed and published by Prabhu Madhura Krishna as an illustrated limited edition, Australia, 1991. When you were a little old man somewhere, or something like that, little old lady, or something.
A dog roaming the streets of Los Angeles.
Possibly. Something anyway. Okay. So it's this chapter. Anyway, we'll read something anyway. So this is Guru Maharaj speaking, because all these things are from his talks that were recorded. The theistic school says absolute means absolute good. It's not zero, Jai. It's not zero. Rather, everything is fully represented there. It's full, not empty. The whole is so great that it can accommodate all. But Shankaracharya sacrificed plurality and accepted only oneness, saying, enemies and friends all become nothing. They become jumbled together. Such a thing is possible only in the zero conception. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained, what Shankaracharya gave us is not proper acceptance of the revealed truth, but both variety and oneness must be recognized. In the Upanishads, it is said, there is no variegatedness. And Shankaracharya says, there is no plurality, but only oneness, Brahman. But Mahaprabhu says, no, he doesn't say Buenos dias. Mahaprabhu says, he would say that if he saw you coming. Hare Krishna. Vishnu Priya Didi is going to school, so we're saying goodbye to her. What did Mahaprabhu say? He said goodbye to Vishnu Priya Didi. Then he said, but Mahaprabhu said, no! Exclamation mark. Variety also exists. Otherwise there would be no necessity of saying anything whatsoever, as all would unanimously agree. Rather, there is one who is the master, and all else are subordinate, and they are active in a system, the controlled and the controller. He explained, if you say that variety does not exist, then what's the necessity of so much discussion? To whom have you come to preach? So one, what are we banging on about? Hare Krishna. And if there is no variety, then what is the necessity of preaching to those who are already one with you? Illusion also has its existence. Otherwise, why have you come to try to remove illusion? If Maya, misunderstanding and misconception does not exist, then why are you preaching?
Yeah,
It is a reality. that there is always the possibility of misconception. Therefore, there is always the necessity of a guru to teach the truth. And it's not just a formal thing, and this is our boat across this life and across this whole plane of miserable misconception, sea of frustration, swept by the tides of hallucination, this place. That's who Guru is.
Is this true or not?
Yes. There is not only the absolute conception, but also the relative, provincial conception. And they both exist. This is called Chidvilasa. It is not the negation of a particular thing. It is not the negation of a particular thing, but the adjustment of everything with the whole, the absolute, the center, seeing things properly. Variety and oneness both exist simultaneously, and this is called, anyone?
Achintya Bheda
Achintya Bheda Tattva, yes. And this is the all-accommodating conclusion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Still, Shankaracharya accepts only one part. His conception is limited and not all-accommodating. This is the truth. The only origin of fear is lack of harmony. Fear is born through disappointment resulting from lack of harmony. If that does not exist, lack of harmony, then there's no place for fear. I'm going to be afraid of everything's harmonious and working beautifully. What's the question of fear? Undesirability is represented in Sanskrit as apprehension or fear. Undesirability, something I don't want, undesirability, is represented in Sanskrit as apprehension or fear, and is regarded as something secondary to the absolute. But how does it reach and become transformed into perfection? That fear, that feeling. How does it change? If we can introduce many interests into one common interest, then there is harmony, no fear, and all is perfect. At present, we are suffering from the mania of separate interest, only because we have deviated from our common master, our common guardian. We have to come to suffer the disease of apprehension. If one master is common to all, then no apprehension can arise. We will feel true unity amongst ourselves. If we fall on the ground, with the help of that same ground, we can stand again. So forgetfulness of our guardian is the cause of the all disastrous situations in which we find ourselves. Forgetfulness of our guardian is the cause of the all disastrous situations in which we find ourselves. The only way to get out of that disaster is to be reinstated in the idea of common guardianship, and that is to be effected by the true sadhus who have not deviated from God consciousness. With their help, we have to appeal to the all-controlling agency. So in Italy, you were writing to this agency and that agency for the passport and the visa. Okay, so now we have to go to the all-controlling agency. Hare Krishna. Then we can again be reinstated in that echelon where we have our master under whose holy feet we are to take shelter. If we can accept this, harmony will be installed in our lives. So we are always to be conscious of our guardian, the highest harmonizer. And that is true God consciousness. Hare Krishna. Okay, we can stop there. From Harmony, Beauty's Necessity, from Srila Guru Maharaj. This is the Rupa, the Sri Dada, the beautiful current, the Rupa Nugadada. It's coming directly from the sweet Absolute, who is dancing ecstatically and chanting ecstatically like a dynamo. And it's coming from Mahaprabhu through Rupa and Sanatan and Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Prabhupada, and coming from that domain, that quarter, and that divine sound, if we can, bow down to that and let it use us and try to give some service energy in that direction, that will save, that will harmonize everything, will save us, and will take us to, places we can't conceive, to joy which is unimaginable, ever fresh, increasing at every moment, not just some happiness thing of the material world, really. The heart's, every atom of the heart's hankering, fully satisfied and more, overflowing, the overflowing ocean of divine love. So, and that's the vibration that is like the beam in Star Wars that pulls the ship in, something like that. Hare Krishna. Don't even like Star Wars, but anyway. Tractor beam, yeah. Something like that. So we have to, to try and recognize it for what it is, and to, be discriminating also. We don't want to hear this, any conception, even of Krishna, perhaps especially of Krishna conception. We don't want to hear any and every, we want to hear this line. This is our line. This is our wealth, and that is our prayer every day. We're praying. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was saying, "You can kill me if you want. You can keep me alive if you want. Whatever is your pleasure. But please, 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 if I've got to be born again, just make me I can be an ant as long as it's in your devotee's house. Don't let me lose that connection with this substantial current, with a devotee." That is our prayer, that we don't, get swept away into so many things that can come, even in the guise of devotion, whether it's scholarship or many things can come to sort of bewilder us. Reading, like Gurudev saying, what is the ocean of a Ganges full of books and a Ganges full of knowledge? If it doesn't take you to what Guru Maharaj, we heard before, said, it's to make you realize that you are the most needy, the most bereft is a word sometimes he uses, the most bereft, with no good qualities, utterly dependent on the mercy of the Vaishnava. And if it points us in that direction and keeps us in that frame of mind and understanding, then it's served its purpose. Actually, served the purpose of the knowledge. Otherwise, what is it in the Navadvip Mahatmya? I think it comes from Jiva Goswami, but anyway, it's written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He says, Bahimukha jane shastra deya dushtamati, shista jani say shastra deya Krishna rati. The shastra the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Shastra, to those who are Bahir Mukha. It means Bahir Nishingo Hridaye Nishimo, outside, Mukha, face, outward looking, averse to the inner culture. Averse. To those who are averse, the Shastra gives confusion, misconception, a whole universe of BS. The Shastra. Bahimukha Shastra, Bahimukha Jani Shastra, Deya Dushtamati. Shista Jani, say Shastra, Deya Krishnarati. But to the gentle, to the surrendered, to the humble, to the faithful, the same Shastra gives you attachment to Krishna. The divine wave is not the words you can hear. The Shastra's living substance. It's not, and it's a heart transaction. It's not just words on the page that you can extract and, it's, if we're dealing with something divine, adokshaja, inconceivable, and once we think that our brain is gonna, anyway, we just have to remember our divine guardians all the time. They are our everything, it comes through their hearts. And we're fortunate that we have those individuals in our lives, we have to hold on tightly in a world of bamboozlement and opportunities to fall off one way or another, in gross ways, which are probably safer in some ways. You just go off and do something stupid. That's one thing. But Guru, who was telling this? I think it was Madhusudana Maharaj in Italy was telling us if Gurudev wanted to send somebody somewhere to a country to preach or something, and some of the devotees, he had some bad habits. So some of Gurudev's friends, his circle of disciples, and, who he saw as his brothers, because they were disciples of Guru Maharaj or Srila Prabhupada, but his disciples, they were saying, well, Maharaj, if we send him, and but Gurudev wasn't swayed by that, because he said no, because he's my man, he's faithful to Guru Maharaj. That's the Gurudev rated that was top of his list, was chastity to the conception of Guru Maharaj. What we're hearing, not to adulterate with something else that you've concocted yourself, or you found in another book somewhere from a different, this is it's a fine thing. It's fine. Saraswati Thakur said of Guru Maharaj, at least I know I've got one man. I've got one person who's caught it. And maybe he had others as well, but he said like that. And these are the great generals of the Gaudiya mission, these, Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Shranga Goswami Maharaj, there's Jajava Maharaj. These are, these are not hippies collected off the beach in California or the streets of the Bowery in New York. These were Brahminical, cultured, shastric, sweet. These were devotees of the highest caliber from birth. And still, Saraswati Thakur goes, at least I've got one person who's caught what I'm saying. It's not generic, off-the-shelf Krishna consciousness. This is the deepest, sweetest, the most sublime Krishna consciousness. It's refined to the... So they would all come to him to hear from him. and then Srila Govinda Maharaj, smiling and mercifully extending that to the Western world. Otherwise, they'd have got nowhere near Srila Guru Maharaj. He was already in his 90s. He'd done a whole life spent serving, and the thought of a ton of people showing up, Western people at the mat, and having to look after them, and whatever craziness they were bringing with them, which they did, was really, he wasn't prepared for that. And it was Srila Govinda Maharaj who said, don't worry about it, Maharaj, I'll look after them. No problem's going to come up them steps. All you have to do is speak when you say something, which he did to the nth degree. So that current, that's our wealth. That Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, that is our wealth. It's not buildings, it's not institutions, it's not anything. It's that current coming from their lotus lips. So we have to hold on to it as closely and as tightly as we can, and hear it and remember it and share it with our, what Guru Maharaj called children of the same soil. We want the children of the same soil, our family, who are trying to proceed in that direction of, what promise, what a direction to be going in, what a direction to be going in. So, from day to day, there's so many, what Prabhupada would call inconveniences maybe there, difficulties basically. Inconveniences that I have to do this or have to, so many things we can say to do. But what a tiny thing they are, actually. Not only are they a tiny thing, they are good for us. They've come to teach. This is Tatteno Kampam. We're actually surrounded by prasadam. And Kumkum Didi spoke so beautifully about this. She said what a relief it was when she came to Guru Maharaj. She said, because up until then, we thought the environment was something hostile that was out to get us. Oh, it's Maya, it's going to jump on you, right? And then we learned from Guru Maharaj that the environment is our friend, and it's come to us under the watchful, affectionate, loving eye of our guardian to teach us, to chastise us, to chasten us, to bring us to him. And that we have to change, not the environment. The environment can do what it's like. My vision of it has to change. That, we could see how the Paramahamsas read the environment. They're finding the divine current in everything, all the time. They're seeing behind. They're seeing that, what Guru Maharaj would say, dive deep into reality. That's what they're doing. So it was so beautifully expressed. We saw when she was speaking that what a relief it was to come to that idea, that conception. And we know even within Krishna consciousness, you can hear that concept. That other conception is still totally relevant. You can hear that all the time from different places. But that's not how Guru Maharaj sees things,
You're saying about chastity and stuff, and I was thinking it's hard to know sometimes how to judge your sense of barometer of how taste or conception is and the subtleties of.
Yes. That's why we just have to hear. We have to hear it. We have to become imbued with it every day. Every day. We want to read something, hear something, discuss something, remember something. And that way it will percolate within us. This is that, what is it? Make the words with the spiritual master, one with your heart. What's the line? Anyway, that line from Shri Guru Charana Padma that we sing every single day. How are you going to make the words one with your heart if you're not hearing them? They've got to go in your ear some way. And then by the mercy of that and that divine sound, then we may be able to discriminate a little bit, and always prayerfully staying under the lotus feet of Sri Guru. Because without that, the biggest brain in the world ain't going to save you. The biggest this, that, and the other. The huge pile of money ain't going to save you. Whatever it is, those things can't help you. They can't. Only that merciful glance of Sri Guru. And to hold on to that amongst the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, as Shakespeare said. That's where we're moving through. And we don't know from one day to the next where we will be, what will be our position, whether we'll even be here, So while we're here, then it's everything. We can't stress it enough. It's not a generic thing. And it's not just some formal thing. It's the life current. It's the pranadana, the wealth of our life. That is the wealth of our life, that stream. To hear this, to think of that, and to try and offer some of myself, my energy, in service to that through the direction of the Vaishnava, of the spiritual master, and who he is directing us to serve under or with, or how that may be. And Srila Guru Maharaj would say we have to go forward with our eyes open, Everything is challenging, and it's said, that the spiritual life is a razor's edge. Well, it is, no doubt. There's, because it's so fine and sweet, that goes directly, it comes from the heart, the Bhakti Lata, and it pierces the covering of the universe, and it goes through and through and through, and eventually it goes through Golok, and it wraps itself as an offering around the lotus feet of Radha and Govinda, the hearts, the Bhakti Lata, and that's the seed that's been planted in our hearts by our Guru Varga. They have given us that. They put it in there. We've only got to, nurture it, pull out the weed, all the things that we hear that has to be done to protect the Bhakti Lata, given the appropriate food of service and our service to the holy name that we're practicing every day, and the association of children of the same soil who are also faithful to that ideal and the faithful to the words of Srila Gurudev, Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, the Paramahansa Vaishnavas who, everything is coming from their affectionate, graceful glance. And then we can happily go on, and we heard it from Gurudev himself. Don't you worry, you just chant Hare Krishna, continue. My Guru Maharaj is with you. I am always with you. We're keeping this in the front of our consciousness, that they will help us to move through. And we've got such a wonderful family. We saw devotees from all over the world. We saw Ashram Maharaj talking so sweetly, and Janada Maharaj talking so sweetly, and Nyasi Maharaj talking so sweetly, and Sri Lekha Didi, and Kumkum Didi, and, throughout the world. We're very, very, very fortunate that we have Vaishnavas. Gurudev left, his generous gift to us. So anyway, Hare Krishna. So we read something from the Centennial Anthology, and then probably tomorrow we should continue with Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, because I'm eager to move on because it's wonderful, basically. And we want to get, now we're I mean, it's all wonderful. This chapter we're on is wonderful. And the next chapter is wonderful. And the chapter after that is wonderful. And anyway, so, any question? Everything good?
Beautiful.
Okay, so let's sing Hare Haraya Nama Krishna. Pandita, did you can sing? And we'll continue with our day.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Namaha.
Hare Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Namaha.
Hare Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Madhavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha.
Madhavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Namaha.
Gopala Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudana.
Gopala Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudana. Bhakti Sundar Govinda Deva Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Bhakti Rakshida Deva Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Shri Bhagavan Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki
Jai.
jai. Guru Bhag ki jai.
Jai.
Shri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Chaitanya Saraswati Acharya Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Shri Bhakti Nimala Acharya Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Shri Bhakti Pavan Janar Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Shri Bhakti Kushumashram Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Shri Bhakti Vijay Tribhika Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Bhakti Sri Goswami Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Shri Bhakti Vimala Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Shri Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudam Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Sannyasi Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Bhakti, what's Bhakti Maharaj's name?
Chaitanya.
Oh, Bhakti Chaitanya Bhakti Maharaj ki
Jai.
jai. Tuti devotee ki
Jai.
jai.
Kesava Nanda ki.
Jai.
Gaura Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol.